The Lego Brick Workshop at Night. Bedtime Sleep Story. Sorting by Lamplight. Welcome. You are here now. There is nowhere else you need to be. The workshop is quiet. The hour is late. And the rain has been falling for a long time. Long enough that it no longer sounds like rain at all, but like a kind of breathing, a soft and endless exhale against the skylight overhead. You are sitting at a wide wooden workbench, and in front of you, a single desk lamp casts a pool of amber light that reaches only so far before it softens into shadow. The rest of the room is gentle darkness, and that is fine. That is enough. The bench beneath your forearms is cool and smooth, worn down by years of quiet use, and you can feel its grain faintly against your skin, like the memory of a tree still resting in the wood. There is a small ceramic bowl near your left hand, filled loosely with plastic bricks of different colors and sizes. And if you listen, really listen, you can hear them shift against each other when your breath moves the bench. The tiniest, most delicate sound, like pebbles settling at the bottom of a still pond. Let your face soften. You may not have realized you were holding tension there, in the muscles around your eyes, in the small space between your brows, but you can let it go now. Let your forehead become smooth. Let the skin around your temples ease. There is nothing here that needs your concentration. Nothing urgent, nothing sharp. Just the lamp and the rain, and the bricks resting quietly in their bowl. This is a fan-made, unofficial sleep story. All trademarks belong to their respective owners. This is not business or financial advice, just a quiet story to help you rest. And so, you reach into the bowl without looking and lift out a single brick. It is a small one, a 2x4, and its color under the lamplight is a deep, muted red, the kind of red that doesn't shout but simply exists. Calmly, like a brick wall seen through autumn fog, you turn it slowly between your thumb and forefinger. The surface is smooth and cool, with just the faintest ridge where the studs rise in two neat rows along the top. You can feel each one 4 pairs of small circles, evenly spaced, precise. The edges are clean. The weight is almost nothing, and yet it is there, a small, honest presence resting in your hand. You set it down on the bench in front of you, near the center of the lamplight. It makes no sound at all, or perhaps the softest tap, like a fingertip touching a window. The rain continues overhead. The radiator in the far corner of the room ticks once, twice, and then is quiet. Now you reach for another. This one is yellow, the color of old sunlight, and it is a slightly different shape, a 1x6, longer and thinner, with a single row of studs that your fingertip traces from end to end. You place it beside the red brick, not connecting them, not building anything, just placing, just sorting. There is a worn wooden tray on the bench to the right of the lamp. It has low dividers inside 6 sections, maybe 8, and the wood is pale and soft from years of small hands and careful fingers. Some of the dividers are slightly crooked, tilted by time, and this imperfection makes the tray feel familiar, lived in, the way a favorite chair holds the shape of the person who sits in it most often. You begin to sort the bricks from the ceramic bowl into this tray, one by one, by color. Red here, yellow there, a blue that is almost gray, a white that catches the lamplight and holds it. Let your jaw release. You may be holding it tighter than you think. The muscles at the hinge, just below your ears, the places where tension gathers like dust in a quiet room. Let them loosen. Let your teeth part just slightly, your lips resting together without pressure. There is no expression you need to hold right now. Your face can simply be at rest, the way the bricks are at rest in their tray. A long time ago, in a small town in Denmark, a carpenter began making toys in his workshop. His name does not matter so much tonight. What matters is the workshop, and the fact that it was not so different from this one. There was wood, and there was lamplight, and there were small things being made by hand, slowly, with care. The carpenter had been building furniture and homes, but times had changed in the way that times do. Gradually, like weather shifting over a wide and open landscape, and he found himself turning towards smaller things. Wooden ducks, pull-along toys, simple figures carved from scraps of beech and birch. The shavings would have curled on the floor of that workshop like pale ribbons, and the air would have smelled of fresh wood and linseed oil, and the faint sweetness of sawdust. You can almost smell it now if you let yourself, a ghost of that scent drifting through the cooler air of this room. mixing with the mineral smell of rain. Your shoulders, let them drop, not forcefully, just allow them to descend, as though they are slowly remembering where they belong. Feel the space that opens between your shoulders and your ears when you stop holding them up. Feel the weight of your arms settling more fully on the bench, your elbows resting, your forearms heavy and warm in the pool of lamplight. You pick up another brick from the bowl. This one is green, a calm and mossy green, and it is a flat piece, a base plate, thin and wide enough to cover your palm. You run your thumb across its surface and feel the grid of tiny studs, row after row, a miniature landscape of small, even points, and it is almost like reading something written in a language made entirely of texture. You set it into the tray. In the section where two other green pieces already rest, and they settle together with a sound so faint it is more felt than heard. The carpenter's workshop in Billund, that was the town. A small and quiet place in the flat middle of Denmark, where the sky is wide and the wind moves through the grass like a long, slow thought. That workshop eventually began to change, the way all workshops do, in small steps that only become visible when you look back from a great distance. The wooden toys gave way to new materials, new shapes, new possibilities. At some point, the familiar feel of carved wood was joined by something else. A small, precise, interlocking plastic brick designed to fit together with a gentle, satisfying click. But that click is for later. For now, there is just the sorting. You reach into the bowl again. Your fingers find a brick without sight, recognizing its shape by touch alone. The two rows of studs, the hollow underside, the squared off corners. You do not need to see it to know it. This is the kind of knowledge that lives in your hands, the way a pianist's fingers know the keys, or a gardener's hands know the soil. Quiet knowledge, patient knowledge. The rain on the skylight shifts slightly, growing softer, as though it too is settling in for the night. The amber glow from the lamp does not flicker. It is steady and warm. A small sun that asks nothing of you. Beyond its reach, the workshop folds into layers of soft shadow, and you can sense the shelves along the far wall where finished builds sit in patient rows. Small houses, tiny vehicles, miniature figures no taller than your thumb, each one assembled piece by piece in hours, just like this one. Let your hands rest for a moment. Feel them lying on the bench, palms down, fingers loose. Notice the warmth where the lamplight touches the backs of your hands, and the cooler air that moves faintly across your knuckles from the cracked window somewhere behind you. Your hands have done so much today, held things, carried things, typed and gripped and reached, and now they can simply be still. They can simply be hands, resting on a wooden bench beside a tray of small, colorful bricks in a quiet room on a rainy night. The name the carpenter chose for his company came from two Danish words that meant simply play well. It is a gentle instruction if you think about it. Not play fast, not play to win. Just play well, with care, with attention, with the kind of quiet focus that forgets about the clock and the world outside and simply stays with the small thing in front of you. The next brick, the next connection, the next soft click. But you do not need to click anything together tonight. Tonight is only for sorting, for touching, for resting your eyes on these small, familiar shapes and letting your thoughts move as slowly as the rain. You lift a white brick from the bowl and hold it in the lamplight. It glows faintly, almost lunar, and the shadows in its small recesses are the gentlest gray. You place it in the tray. You lift a blue brick, the color of deep evening, and you hold it for a moment, longer than necessary, simply because it feels good to hold something small and definite and cool. Then it too finds its place in the tray. The sorting is almost a rhythm now. Reach, lift, feel, place. Reach, lift, feel, place. Your breathing has begun to match it without your noticing, slow and easy. Each inhale arriving as your fingers enter the bowl. Each exhale releasing as the brick settles into wood. The radiator ticks once more. The wind outside presses gently against the window, and the glass hums for a moment, a single low note, and then is quiet again. In the workshop, the world is small. The world is the circle of warm light on the bench. The wooden tray with its soft divisions. The ceramic bowl, slowly emptying. The bricks finding their places one by one. Everything beyond this circle is simply night, patient and deep and unhurried. The kind of night that holds a room the way a hand holds a sleeping bird. Loosely, tenderly, without any wish to disturb. Your temples are soft, your jaw is loose. Your shoulders have found their resting place, and your hands lie warm and still on the bench, curled slightly like leaves that have drifted down from a branch and come to rest on quiet ground. The lamp hums its faint electrical whisper. The rain breathes against the glass above. And somewhere in the back of your mind, like a door left open to a room you visited long ago, there is the image of that first small workshop in Denmark, the wood shavings on the floor, the careful hands, the simple belief that something small and well-made could bring a kind of quiet joy. That image does not need to sharpen or resolve. It can remain soft, distant, a thought resting at the edge of sleep, like a brick resting at the edge of the lamplight, half in glow, half in shadow. The tray is nearly full now. The bowl is nearly empty. And the night continues, gentle and steady, carrying you along like a river that has forgotten it has anywhere to go. The quiet workshop. The workshop is still here. Of course it is. It has not moved, and neither have you. The lamp continues its quiet amber vigil over the bench. The rain continues its long conversation with the skylight, and the wooden tray sits before you with its rows of sorted bricks, reds beside reds, blues beside blues, yellows resting in their own small country of color. The ceramic bowl is nearly empty now. Just a few remaining pieces lying at the bottom, like the last few thoughts before sleep. Unhurried, in no rush to arrive anywhere. You reach into the bowl, and your fingers find one of those remaining bricks. It is a thin one, a flat plate, perhaps a 1x2, and it is so light that for a moment you are not entirely sure you have picked anything up at all. But then you feel it. The faintest pressure between your thumb and the pad of your index finger. This smooth top surface, the barely perceptible edge. You hold it there, not looking at it, just feeling it, the way you might hold a single word in your mind without needing to say it aloud. Your jaw can soften a little more, even now, even after you already let it ease, there may be a thread of tension remaining, a habit so old it feels like part of your face. But it is not. It is just a pattern, and patterns can loosen the way a knot loosens when no one is pulling on either end. Let the hinge of your jaw become quiet. Let the muscles along the sides of your face rest, as though they have set down something they have been carrying for a very long time. You place the thin brick into the tray. It barely whispers against the wood. And now the bowl holds only 3 or 4 more pieces, scattered across the curved ceramic floor like small, colorful stones left behind by a retreating tide. There is a particular quality to this hour of the night, this middle passage between evening and true darkness, when the world outside has finished most of its business and the rain is the only thing still working. The streets beyond the workshop walls are quiet. The shops are closed. Somewhere, perhaps, a bicycle leans against a wall, with rain collecting in tiny beads along its handlebars. And somewhere else, a cat sits on a windowsill, watching the water run in silver threads down the glass. But these are distant images, peripheral, the kind of thoughts that drift through a quiet mind without asking for attention. They arrive and they pass, and the workshop remains. You pick up another brick from the bowl. This one has some weight to it. A 2x4, solid and familiar. And its color is a kind of warm tan, like sandstone, like the walls of old buildings in towns where the light is always golden in the late afternoon. You turn it over in your fingers. The underside is hollow, a small architectural space with thin supporting walls and round tubes that allow it to grip onto the studs of another brick. You have never really examined this underside before. Or perhaps you have many times, long ago, when your hands were smaller and every brick was a world to be explored. The engineering is simple and satisfying. Everything fits. Everything has its place. Let your shoulders settle another degree. Imagine they are like 2 gentle hills that have been slowly eroding over centuries, losing their sharpness, their height becoming rounder and softer until they are barely distinguishable from the plain around them. That is what your shoulders can do right now. They can become part of the landscape of your resting body, no longer standing apart, no longer braced against anything, just resting terrain, just stillness shaped like you. You place the tan brick into the tray in the section where you have been collecting the neutral tones, the whites, the grays, the beiges, the soft creams. They look like a tiny collection of quiet buildings seen from above. A miniature city made entirely of calm. The rain shifts on the skylight, and for a moment the pattern changes. A few heavier drops among the lighter ones, like a deeper voice joining a murmur. And then it settles again. Steady, even, the same gentle percussion that has been accompanying you since you sat down. The radiator in the far corner ticks once. The sound is so familiar now that it is almost a comfort. A small mechanical heartbeat in the room, keeping its own unhurried time. In the earliest days of the brick, and these are not details that need to sharpen into facts, they are simply a kind of texture, a background. The way the grain of the bench is a background to everything you place upon it. The pieces were made from a material called cellulose acetate, and they were simpler than what you hold now, less precise, with a slightly different feel beneath the fingers. The clutch power was not yet perfected. 2 bricks pressed together might hold, or they might slide apart again with the gentlest nudge, like 2 hands clasped loosely in a gesture of greeting rather than of grip. The air near your hands is warm from the lamp. You can feel it on your knuckles, on the thin skin between your fingers, a warmth that is not urgent or demanding, but simply present. The way sunlight is present on a wall in the late morning, the way a blanket is present around your shoulders on a cool evening. You do not need to reach for it. It is already there. Gradually, over years that do not need to be counted, the bricks became more precise. The material changed. The molds were refined until the tolerance between pieces was extraordinarily fine. So fine that a brick made in one decade could connect with a brick made in another. Across years, across factories, across continents. And the fit would be the same. That small, satisfying click, always the same. But the click is a quiet thing. It is not the sound of machinery or industry. It is the sound of 2 small things meeting and agreeing to stay together. like two notes forming a chord, like two hands finding each other under a table. You can hear it now if you imagine it, or perhaps you do not need to imagine it. Perhaps your memory provides it freely. A sound so familiar, it lives somewhere beneath conscious thought. In the place where lullabies live, and the smell of bread, and the feeling of being carried when you were very small. Your hands rest on the bench. The sorting is finished for now. The bowl holds a single remaining brick, a tiny 1x1. A perfect small cube, and its color is a deep arterial red. You pick it up, and it sits on the tip of your finger like a drop of something. Like a period at the end of a very long and gentle sentence. You place it in the tray with its kind. The bowl is empty, and so the tray is full, and the bowl is empty. And there is a particular satisfaction in this that does not need words. It is the satisfaction of completion without urgency, of a small task done well and slowly, the way the rain completes its journey from sky to glass to gutter, without any sense of accomplishment or fanfare, simply because that is what rain does. You can rest your hands now, palms down on the bench, feeling the wood, feeling the warmth from the lamp on the left and the coolness of the open air on the right. Your fingers are loose. Each one rests separately, with tiny spaces between them, like fence posts, with gaps that let the breeze through. There is no tool to grip, no key to turn, no screen to touch. Your hands are simply hands again, returned to their most basic purpose, which is perhaps no purpose at all, which is perhaps just being, resting, existing, feeling the grain of the wood and the slow passage of warm air. The tin canister at the far edge of the bench catches a glint of lamplight on its lid. Inside, there are finished builds, tiny assemblies of 10 or 20 or 30 pieces, each one a miniature thing, a small car, or a small house, or a small tree made of green slopes and brown cylinders. They sit in the canister the way memories sit in the mind, quietly, all together, not demanding attention, but available if you reach for them. You do not reach for them now. You let them rest. The moonlight through the high windows has shifted slightly, imperceptibly. The way the hour hand of a clock moves, you cannot see it happen. But if you look away and look back, something has changed. The blue-gray light now falls in a slightly different angle across the far wall, illuminating a shelf where boxes of unsorted bricks wait in patient stacks. The boxes are old, their edges softened, their colors faded. They have been here for a long time. They will be here for a long time still. Let yourself be as patient as those boxes. Let yourself sit with the unhurried certainty that nothing needs to happen next. Your jaw is soft. Your shoulders are low and warm. Your hands are still. The tray of sorted bricks rests before you like a quiet painting, each section a field of color, and the lamp holds it all in its gentle circle of light. The workshop is a room, and the room is a world, and the world tonight is very small and very kind. The rain speaks to the skylight in its ceaseless, breathy language. The radiator ticks its slow mechanical pulse. And somewhere in the sorting tray, two bricks that happen to rest against each other, a red and a blue, side by side, lean together with the faintest pressure, touching at their edges, not connected, not interlocking, just resting in quiet companionship, the way two thoughts might rest beside each other in a drowsy mind, neither one leading to the other, both simply there. The cool air from the cracked window moves across the back of your neck, gentle as a breath, and you do not shiver. It is not that kind of cold. It is the kind that simply reminds you that you have a body, that you are here, in this room, at this bench, beneath this lamp, beside this tray of small and colorful things, and that the night is happening around you the way nights have always happened, slowly, completely, without any need for your participation. You look at the sorted bricks one more time. The reds are deep and certain. The blues are cool and calm. The whites catch the light. The yellows hold it. And the greens, those quiet, mossy greens, seem to hold something else entirely. Some memory of leaves or grass, or the soft felt of a billiard table, seen from very close, and you let that association drift through your mind without following it, the way you might watch a leaf float past on a slow-moving stream, turning once, twice, and then gone around the bend. The lamp hums. The rain falls. And now your gaze moves without purpose, without destination, from the tray of sorted bricks toward the bench itself, toward the wider surface of the workbench where other things rest in the quiet amber light. A few loose bricks that did not make it into the bowl. A small instruction booklet with its pages slightly curled. a cloth for wiping dust from finished builds, folded once and resting like a small, soft square of silence. And it occurs to you, in the way that things occur when the mind is quiet and unhurried, that there might be something gentle to do with those loose bricks. Those few remaining pieces that sit outside the tray, outside the order you have made. Not tonight, perhaps. Or perhaps tonight. There is no rush. The bench is wide, and the lamp is warm, and the rain will go on for hours yet, steady and soft and indifferent to time. Your hands rest. Your jaw rests. Your shoulders rest. And somewhere in the comfortable darkness beyond the lamp's reach, the workshop holds all of its quiet contents. The shelves, the boxes, the tin canister, the tools hanging on their hooks, the finished builds and the unfinished ones, and asks nothing of you at all. Wooden beginnings. The workshop is the same. The lamp is the same. The rain on the skylight has found an even softer register, as though it too has been settling in, adjusting its rhythm to match the pace of this room. This hour, this gentle nowhere of a night. The wooden tray of sorted bricks rests before you in the amber light, each color in its quiet compartment, and the ceramic bowl beside it is empty now, its curved interior glazed and smooth, catching a small half-moon of reflected lamplight. You are still here. The bench is still beneath your arms, and the story that has been drifting through the room, like the scent of rain through the cracked window, continues, not because it must, but because it wishes to, in the way that all quiet things wish to continue being quiet. Your hands move now to those few loose bricks that rest on the bench beyond the tray, the ones that were never in the bowl, the strays, the extras. You gather them slowly, not with purpose, but with the idle tenderness of someone collecting shells from a beach. They are in no hurry to leave. One of them, a flat gray plate, has a faint scratch across its surface, a tiny imperfection you can feel with the pad of your thumb. It is the kind of mark that makes a thing feel real, feel used, feel held. You set it aside near the lamp where it can rest in the warmest part of the light. Let your chest soften now. You have been breathing all this time, of course, easily and without thought. But now you can bring a gentle attention to the space beneath your collarbones, the broad, quiet area of your upper chest, and let it widen, not with a deep breath, not with effort, just with permission, as though the muscles between your ribs have been asked a question and the answer is yes. And the yes itself is a kind of release, a kind of opening, like a window that has been painted shut for years, and finally, on a warm afternoon, gives way. The story that comes now is an old one, and it arrives the way old stories do, when the hour is late, softened, unhurried, like someone speaking from a comfortable chair across a dim room, their voice low, their words chosen not for precision, but for the way they feel in the mouth. It is the story of a man in a small Danish town, a carpenter. And it begins not with an idea or an invention, but with the simplest of things. A piece of wood, a blade, a steady hand. His name was Ole Kirk Christensen, and in the 1920s and into the 1930s, he worked in Billund, which was then a town so small and so flat and so far from anything that it might have been the kind of place you dream about when you were trying to fall asleep. A place where the streets are empty by evening, and the sky is enormous, and the wind moves through the grass with the patience of something that has nowhere else to be. He built houses. He built furniture, stepladders and ironing boards, and the simple, solid things that people needed in their kitchens, in their bedrooms, in their quiet daily lives. And then the wood shavings on the floor of his workshop would have been long and curled, pale as cream, and they would have gathered in drifts against the legs of the workbench and whispered against each other when the door opened and the evening air moved through. You can imagine the smell, not sharply, not with effort, but the way a scent returns to you sometimes when you are half asleep, arriving whole and unbidden. Pine, oak, beech, the faint sweetness of fresh-cut timber and the drier, warmer scent of sawdust that has been settling all day in the slanted light. Let your belly soften. This is a place where so many of us hold our tension without knowing it. The muscles of the abdomen drawn slightly inward, slightly taut, as though bracing for something that never arrives. You can let them go now. You can let your belly be round and easy, rising and falling with each breath like the surface of a pond when the wind is barely there. Just the smallest motion, the smallest proof of life, patient and rhythmic, and requiring nothing of you at all. Old Kirk's workshop would have had a bench not so different from this one. Wider, perhaps, and marked with the scars of saw cuts and chisel marks. And there would have been a vise bolted to one end and a rack of tools along the wall. Hand planes, rasps, coping saws with their thin blades curved like the necks of small birds. He would have stood at that bench for hours, and the work would have been slow. Each piece shaped by hand, each surface smoothed not by machine, but by the repetitive, meditative act of sanding. There is something about sanding that belongs to the same family of quiet as this night. The motion is always the same, back and forth, and the sound is a hushing, a gentle friction, a lullaby made of wood and paper and pressure. You start with a coarser grit, and the surface beneath your hand is rough, resistant, full of small ridges and the memory of the saw. And then gradually, changing to finer paper, the surface begins to change. It becomes smoother. The ridges disappear. The grain emerges, clear and beautiful. The hidden pattern of the tree's own slow life made visible by patience and repetition. The radiator in the far corner of the workshop ticks twice, then settles. The rain continues its soft, a rhythmic percussion on the skylight overhead. You can feel the bench beneath your forearms, and if you press down very gently, you can feel something like what old Kirk would have felt. The solidity of wood, the quiet resistance of a surface that has been shaped and smoothed and made ready for whatever comes next. Your chest rises, your chest falls. The lamp hums its almost inaudible note. In time, the economy shifted, as economies do, like weather over flat country, and the demand for furniture and houses softened. And Ole Kirk found himself looking at the offcuts and scraps that gathered at the edges of his workshop. The short ends, the thin pieces, the wood that was too small for a stepladder or a cupboard door, but still too good to burn. And from these scraps, almost as a kind of afterthought, almost as a kind of play, he began to make toys. Small things, a wooden duck with wheels, its beak painted yellow, its body shaped from a single block of beach and sanded until it was smooth enough to press against a child's cheek without leaving any roughness, any mark. Pull along animals on strings. Simple cars with round wooden wheels that turned on small metal axles, each one shaped by hand, sanded by hand, painted by hand, and each one carrying inside it the same patient attention that had gone into every stepladder and every ironing board before it. The cool air from the cracked window moves across the back of your hands, and you accept it the way you accept the sound of rain, as a thing that is simply part of this moment, neither welcome nor unwelcome, just present, just real. Your lower back can ease now. Feel the place where your spine curves inward, the small of your back, and let it release whatever it has been holding. Let the muscles there become warm and heavy, as though they are slowly filling with sand, soft sand, the kind that holds the shape of whatever rests upon it. You are supported. The chair holds you. The bench is before you. The night is around you. Nothing needs to be held up. The toys sold quietly in local shops in the way that small things find their way into the world when they are made with care. Not through spectacle or announcement, but through the simple fact of their goodness, their rightness, the way they felt in a child's hand. And old Kirk continued, and his workshop continued, and the wood shavings continued to gather on the floor like soft, pale snow. He chose a name for his small enterprise, and the name came from two Danish words, leggot, which meant, as you may remember from earlier this evening, simply play well. It was an instruction and a hope and a philosophy, all in two small syllables. And it was also, by coincidence, close to a Latin phrase meaning, I put together, though Ole Kirk did not know this at the time, and it does not matter, and the rain does not care about Latin or Danish, or any language at all. The rain only knows how to fall, and it does so now, gently against the skylight, each drop finding its own path down the glass, merging with other drops, forming small, slow rivers that catch the faint moonlight and carry it downward in silver threads. Your belly rises. Your belly falls. The breath moves through you the way the rain moves down the glass, without effort, without direction, simply following the path that gravity and habit have worn smooth over all the years of your breathing life. You do not need to guide it. You do not need to count it. It knows its own way, and it will carry you. In the wooden sorting tray, the bricks rest in their colors, and they are a long way from those first wooden toys. And yet they are not so far at all. The impulse is the same. The attention is the same. A small thing made well, held in the hand, turned over, examined, appreciated for what it is rather than what it represents. The material has changed, wood to plastic, hand carving to injection molding, but the lamp does not care about materials. The lamp only knows how to cast its amber light, and it does so now, steady and warm, across the tray, across the bench, across your resting hands. Ole Kirk's workshop in Billund would have been quiet at this hour. The tools put away, the sawdust swept, the finished toys lined up on a shelf to dry, their paint still faintly tacky, their surfaces gleaming in whatever light the workshop held. Perhaps a single lamp, not so different from this one. Perhaps the sound of wind across the flat Danish landscape, finding the gaps in the walls, the cracks in the window frames, and entering the room as a thin, cool whisper. And he might have sat as you sit now, at the end of a long day's work, with his hands resting on the bench and his shoulders low and his breath easy, looking at the small things he had made and feeling something that does not have a name but lives in the chest, in the space just behind the breastbone, a kind of warmth that is not from any lamp, a kind of satisfaction that is not from any accomplishment, but simply from having been present, having been careful, having given attention to the small and the quiet and the near. Let that warmth settle in your own chest now, not as a feeling you must summon, but as one that is already there, that has perhaps been there all along, beneath the noise and the doing and the carrying of the day. It rests behind your ribs like a coal in a banked fire, not blazing, not urgent, just warm, just quietly, persistently warm. The rain, the lamp, the bricks in their tray, the empty bowl, the bench beneath your arms, the scratch on the gray plate near the lamp, the tin canister at the edge of the light, the moonlight shifting on the far wall, so slowly you cannot see it move, and yet it moves. It moves the way everything moves when you are still enough to notice the shadows, the light, the air, the breath, the night itself turning like a great slow wheel toward morning, though morning is very, very far away. And you need not think of it. You need not think of anything at all. Your hands are warm. Your chest is open. Your belly is soft. And somewhere in the quiet part of your mind, Ole Kirk's workshop and this workshop have become the same room, the same bench, the same lamp, the same patient hour of making and resting and being still. The wooden duck sits on a shelf that may or may not be here. The bricks rest in a tray that certainly is. And between them, across all those years, there is a thread of attention, a filament of care, as fine and strong as the connection between two small bricks pressed gently together in the amber light. The radiator ticks. The rain breathes. And the story drifts onward, not toward anything, but simply onward, the way the night itself drifts, carrying everything with it. The workshop, the bricks, the memory of wood, and you resting here, resting now, at the center of all this gentle, unhurried quiet. The first bricks. The workshop holds you. That is the simplest way to say it, and the truest. The lamp has not changed, though perhaps its glow has softened by the smallest degree. The way a voice lowers as the evening deepens, not because there is less to say, but because everything that needs to be said can be said more quietly now. The rain on the skylight has thinned. There are moments, brief, gentle moments, when the drops seem to pause entirely. And in those pauses, you can hear the room itself. The almost silence of a space that is simply being the faint warmth of the lamp made audible only by the absence of everything else. And then the rain returns. A few drops. A few more, and the skylight resumes its soft, patient receiving. The wooden tray of sorted bricks sits before you, each compartment a small field of color, and your hands rest on the bench on either side of it, palms down, fingers loose, feeling the grain of the wood which runs in long, parallel lines beneath your skin, like the memory of a river seen from very far above. The ceramic bowl is empty, and has been for some time, and it holds its small pool of reflected lamplight like a shallow pond holds a coin, quietly, without purpose, simply because that is where the light has fallen. You lift your right hand slowly and reach toward the tray. Your fingers find the compartment where the white bricks rest, and you pick one up, a standard 2x4, the most common brick, the one that every hand remembers, the one that is, to this story, what a single note is to a long, slow piece of music. You hold it in the warmth of the lamplight and turn it once, and its surface catches the glow and returns it softly, like snow in the last light of a winter afternoon. Let your chest be easy. Let the space between your shoulders widen, not through effort, but through a kind of gentle forgetting to hold. Forgetting to brace, forgetting that there was ever anything to protect. The breath enters and the ribs expand, and the breath leaves and the ribs settle. And this has been happening all along, this quiet bellows work of living, and it will continue happening long after you have stopped noticing it, long after you have drifted into the deeper rhythms of sleep. In the workshop of your mind, which is also this workshop, which is also the workshop in Billund that has been hovering at the edges of this night, like moonlight at the edges of the far wall. Something is shifting. The story has been living in wood, beech and pine and birch. The curled shavings and the smell of sanding. But now, gradually, like the rain thinning on the skylight, like the light softening by one imperceptible degree, the story begins to move toward something else, toward a different material, a different texture beneath the fingers, a different sound. It happened in the late 1940s. Not suddenly. Nothing in this story happens suddenly, but in the way that seasons change in a flat landscape, where there is no mountain to mark the boundary between one valley and the next, only the slow, continuous shifting of light and temperature and the things that grow from the ground. Old Kirk's son, Godfred, was working in the family business now, and the workshop had grown the way a tree grows, ring by ring, outward from its quiet center. There were more workers, more tools, more shelves of finished toys. And among the wooden ducks and pull-along animals, there began to appear something new. A machine arrived. It was an injection molding machine, purchased from a company in Britain and it was a large and purposeful thing, the kind of object that takes up space not just in a room, but in the life of the people who use it. But we do not need to dwell on the machine tonight. What matters is what the machine made possible, which was this: a small rectangular brick made of plastic with rows of studs on top and a hollow interior. And when you held it in your hand, it felt different from wood. Lighter, cooler, more precise. The edges were sharper, the surfaces smoother, and the studs were arranged in exact, repeating patterns that your fingertip could read, like the dots of a language made entirely for the hands. The cool air from the cracked window touches the back of your neck and moves down along your spine, and you can follow it, this thread of coolness, as it traces the path of your vertebrae, one by one, each small bone resting on the one below it, a column of quiet architecture, a stack of living bricks holding you upright without any effort you can feel. Let your spine soften now, not collapse, just ease. Let each vertebra settle a fraction closer to the one beneath it, the way a tower of bricks might settle under its own gentle weight, finding its truest alignment, its most restful balance. Those first bricks were called automatic binding bricks, and the name was as plain and honest as the bricks themselves. They were designed to hold together, to bind, and they did, though the binding in those earliest versions was gentle, tentative, like a handshake between two people who have only just met. You could press two bricks together and feel them connect, but the connection was loose, provisional, a suggestion of togetherness rather than a commitment. If you turned the small assembly on its side or held it upside down, the bricks might slip apart, separating quietly, without fuss, returning to their individual selves. The rain pauses again on the skylight, and in the pause, the workshop is so quiet you can hear the lamp, not its light, of course, but its small electrical life, the hum that lives in the wire and the filament and the glass, a hum so low and so steady that it is less a sound than a presence, a vibration that you feel in the bench and in the bones of your hands, and in the warm air that pools around the shade like a small amber atmosphere. You hold the white brick in your fingers, and you press it gently against the bench, against nothing, just feeling the pressure in the pads of your fingertips, the small resistance of the studs against the wood, This is what those early bricks knew. Pressure, contact, the simple meeting of one surface with another. And even though the clutch was not yet perfected, even though the binding was loose, there was already something there. Something in the act of pressing two pieces together and feeling them hold, however briefly, that satisfied a need so basic it does not have a name. The need to connect, the need to build, the need to take two separate things and make them one. Let your hips settle in to whatever is supporting you. Feel the weight of your body finding its rest, the broad bones of your pelvis like the foundation of a house that has been standing for a long time and knows exactly how to hold its own weight. There is no effort here. The structure is sound. You can trust it the way you trust the floor beneath you, the way you trust the bench, the way you trust the night to continue being the night without any help from you. Gottfried and the workers in the Billund workshop spent years refining those early bricks. This is the part of the story that moves most slowly, and it is perhaps the part that belongs most naturally to this hour. Because refinement is a kind of patience, and patience is a kind of rest. They adjusted the molds. They experimented with different plastics. They tested the grip of stud against tube. The resistance needed to hold two bricks together firmly enough to build with, but loosely enough to pull apart with small fingers. And each adjustment was tiny. A fraction of a millimeter here. A slightly different curve there. The kind of changes that you cannot see with your eyes, but can feel with your hands. The way a potter feels. The difference between two bowls that look identical but rest differently in the palm. One a little heavier. One a little smoother. One with a lip that feels exactly right against the thumb. The radiator ticks once in the far corner. The sound is farther away than it was before. Or perhaps you have simply settled deeper into the near things. The bench, the lamp, the brick in your hand, and the far things have receded accordingly. Pulling back like the tide, pulling back from the shore. Not gone, but gentler, more distant, more willing to let you be where you are. You set the white brick down and pick up a red one from the tray. 2x2, this one. A small square, and you place it on top of the white brick that rests on the bench. You press down gently, and there it is, the click. So soft, so small, a sound made of contact and precision, and the tiniest displacement of air between two surfaces meeting. It is not a dramatic sound. It is not a sound that announces itself. It is a sound that happens between your fingers, private and immediate, like the sound of your own breathing, like the sound of your eyelids closing. Two bricks connected. You lift the small assembly and it holds. The red sits on the white, and they are together now. A single thing, where a moment ago there were two, and the connection is firm and quiet and entirely satisfying in a way that reaches past thought and into the body, into the hands, into the place where the simplest pleasures live. Texture, fit, the rightness of things that belong together. Your chest rises and falls. Your hips are heavy and still. Your spine rests in its gentle curve, supported and warm. The rain returns to the skylight, lighter than before, barely there, like the sound of someone turning the pages of a very old book in a room at the end of a long hallway. The moonlight on the far wall has shifted again, moving slowly toward the corner where the shelves hold their quiet rows of finished builds, and the shadows in the room have deepened by the smallest degree. Not darker exactly, but softer, rounder, more like velvet and less like air. The bricks in the tray rest in their colors. The two connected bricks rest on the bench, red on white, like a tiny house for a tiny thought. And the story of those early experiments in Billund, the injection molds and the cellulose acetate and the slow, patient refinement of clutch intolerance settles into the room the way the rain settles onto the skylight, becoming part of the atmosphere, part of the ambient quiet, no longer a story being told, but a texture being felt, a background warmth, a presence. You do not need to remember the details. The details are like the individual drops of rain. They arrive. They merge. They become the larger sound. And it is the larger sound that matters. The continuous, gentle wash of something happening that requires nothing of you. Bricks were made. Bricks were tested. Bricks were held in hands, not so different from yours. Turned over, examined, pressed together, pulled apart, and pressed together again. And with each repetition, the fit became truer, the hold became surer, the click became more certain, more complete, more like the sound it was always trying to be. And now the lamp seems to glow a little warmer, as though it has drawn the last of the evening's energy into its small glass world. And the bench beneath your arms is the warmest it has been all night, holding the accumulated heat of the lamp and of your own resting body. And you can feel this warmth not just in your hands, but in your forearms, in your elbows, in the places where your body meets the wood, and the wood meets the light, and the light meets the rain, and the rain meets the glass, and the glass meets the sky, and all of it, every layer, every surface, every meeting is quiet, is gentle, is still. The two connected bricks sit on the bench in their small, perfect togetherness, red on white, the first tiny structure of the night, and it does not need to become anything more. It does not need walls, or a roof, or windows. It is complete in itself. The way a single chord is complete, the way a held breath is complete, the way this moment is complete, the lamp, the rain, the bench, the tray, the bricks, and you resting among them, part of the composition, part of the stillness, drifting now in the gentle direction of whatever comes next, which is nothing urgent, nothing sharp, only the continued unfolding of quiet, the slow deepening of night, and the patient amber warmth of a room that holds you the way a hand holds a small and precious thing. It has no intention of letting go. Steady tables. The workshop is still here. You are still here. These two facts are the same fact, really. The room and the person in it. The lamp and the hands it illuminates. The bench and the body that rests against it. They are part of each other now. The way a stone becomes part of the riverbed it has rested in for years. Not because anything holds it there, but because stillness itself is a kind of belonging. The rain on the skylight has thinned to almost nothing, a mist, perhaps, or the memory of a mist, and the drops that do arrive come singly, with long silences between them, each one a small, clear tap against the glass, like a fingertip touching a sleeping shoulder, gently, just to say, I am here. The two connected bricks from earlier, the red on the white, still sit on the bench near the edge of the lamplight. You reach for them now, not to build further, but simply to hold them, to feel their joined weight in your palm, which is barely more than the weight of one alone, and yet different, denser, somehow more present the way a word means more when it is part of a sentence than when it stands alone. You turn the small assembly slowly in your fingers. The connection holds. The red brick does not shift on the white. They are together, and they will stay together until someone decides gently to pull them apart. You set them down again, and your hand drifts back to the sorting tray, where the compartments of color wait in their orderly quiet. Your fingers find the section of blue bricks, and you lift one out, a 2x3, a shape you have not held yet tonight, slightly wider than the familiar 2x4, and the blue is deep and even the color of a lake seen from the window of a house where you once slept very well, though you cannot remember when, and it does not matter when. The color is enough. The weight is enough. This smooth, cool surface against your fingertip is enough. Let your belly be soft. You have been letting it soften all evening. And perhaps it has, and perhaps there is still more softening to do, because the belly is a place of deep holding, a place where the body stores what the mind has not yet set down. But here, in this room, at this bench, there is nothing left to store. The day is over. Its concerns have dissolved into the general quiet, the way the rain has dissolved into mist. Your belly can be round and loose, rising and falling with each breath, a slow and tidal motion that belongs to you and to the night in equal measure. In Billund, in the years after the first bricks were made, the workshop grew. Not quickly, not with any sense of urgency or ambition that would disturb the quiet of this story. It grew the way a garden grows, one row at a time, one season at a time, each new thing planted beside the last, and given time to take root before anything else was added. There were more workbenches now, more hands at those benches, more trays of bricks being sorted and counted and packed into boxes with simple labels and clear instructions. The hands that sorted those bricks would have moved much as yours move now, reaching, lifting, placing, reaching again. There is a rhythm to sorting that the body learns before the mind does. A cadence that lives in the muscles of the fingers and the gentle rotation of the wrist. And once the body has learned it, the mind is free to wander, to soften, to drift in the direction of its own quiet weather. And so the workers in those early rooms would have sorted and packed and sorted and packed, and their thoughts would have drifted, and the hours would have passed, and the bricks would have accumulated in their boxes the way sand accumulates in an hourglass. grain by grain, piece by piece, each one too small to notice, and all of them together forming something that could eventually be measured by weight. But weight is not the point tonight. Lightness is the point. The lightness of the blue brick in your fingers. The lightness of the rain on the skylight. The lightness of your own hands resting on the bench, which feel as though they could float if you let them, if you simply stopped reminding them that they are hands and let them become something else. Clouds, perhaps, or the shadows of clouds moving over a flat and golden field. The radiator has gone quiet. It has finished its cooling, its ticking, its small mechanical conversation with the room, and now it rests in the far corner as a shape among other shapes in the gentle darkness beyond the lamp's reach. The workshop is quieter than it has been all night. The silence is not empty. It is full. The way a held breath is full, the way a bowl is full of the space it contains. The lamp hums its nearly inaudible note. The mist touches the skylight. And you are here, and the bricks are here, and the story continues its slow and patient drift. The factory in Billund, though it was hardly a factory then, more a collection of rooms that had learned to work together, the way instruments in a quiet ensemble learn to listen to each other and play in the same key, the growing workplace began to ship its bricks beyond Denmark. First to neighboring countries, then farther, in boxes that traveled by truck and by train, through landscapes the bricks themselves would never see, rolling green hills, gray coastal towns, cities where the buildings were tall and the streets were loud, and the children who opened those boxes had never heard of Billund and never would. And it did not matter, because the bricks did not carry the name of the town with them. They carried only themselves, their color, their shape, their simple invitation to be put together. The cool air from the cracked window is barely there now. A suggestion more than a sensation, like the lightest possible touch on the back of your wrist. Your lower back can release another degree. Feel the place where your spine meets your pelvis, that junction of bone and muscle and quiet engineering, and let it ease. Let the curve of your lower back deepen slightly, naturally, The way a cat's back curves when it settles into the warmest spot on a rug and decides, with absolute certainty, that it will not be moving for a very long time. Your hips are heavy. They are the foundation, the base plate, the broad and solid ground upon which everything else rests, and they can be trusted to do their work without any supervision from you. In the sorting tray, the bricks have a beauty that is entirely accidental, or perhaps not accidental at all. Perhaps it is the natural beauty of things that have been organized with care. The way a shelf of books has a beauty, or a drawer of folded linens, or a row of glass jars in a pantry, each one holding something different, but all of them the same height, the same shape, the same quiet promise of order. The reds are warm. The blues are cool. The yellows hold their own small portion of the lamp's light and seem to glow from within, as though they remember the sunlight they were colored to resemble. You pick up a yellow brick and hold it near the lamp, and it becomes almost luminous, almost golden, and the studs on its surface cast tiny shadows that point away from the light, like the shadows of very small trees in the late afternoon. You place it back in its compartment, and the shadows disappear, and the yellow becomes simply yellow again, resting among other yellows. And this small transformation from glowing to resting, from luminous to still, is the kind of thing that only happens when you are paying attention to very small things, which is another way of saying it is the kind of thing that only happens at night, in a quiet room, when the world has been narrowed to the size of a lamp's circle, and everything beyond that circle has agreed to wait. The expansion of the brick company was not a dramatic thing. There were no moments of crisis or triumph that need to be narrated here. There were simply more tables, more sorting trays, more hands reaching into more bins and lifting out more bricks and placing them into more boxes. The production lines grew longer, and the molds grew more numerous, and the colors multiplied: new blues, new greens, new grays. And each new color was tested and adjusted and tested again until it matched exactly. Until a blue brick made on one day was indistinguishable from a blue brick made on another. The way one raindrop is indistinguishable from the next. Each one, its own small, perfect thing, and all of them together forming the same quiet, continuous sound. The hum of the lamp is your companion now. It has been there all along, of course, but you are hearing it more clearly in the deeper quiet of this late hour. The way you hear your own heartbeat more clearly when you lie down at night and the house is still, and the only sound left is the one your own body makes. That's steady, rhythmic, unasked for proof that you are alive and resting and held by the same gentle forces that hold the rain in the sky before it falls, and hold the earth in its slow and invisible turning. Your belly rises, your belly falls, your lower back rests in its curve, your hips hold their weight without effort, without thought, the way the bench holds the tray, and the tray holds the bricks, and the bricks hold their colors, and the colors hold the light. Everything is held. Everything is holding. And the holding is not a tension, but a kind of tenderness. The way a nest holds an egg, the way a hammock holds a sleeping body, the way this story holds you, loosely, gently, with no intention other than to be here, in this room, at this bench, for as long as the night lasts. The workshop in Billund grew another room, and then another, and the bricks filled more shelves and more boxes and more small hands in more distant places, and the clicking sound, that soft, precise, unmistakable sound of two bricks meeting and agreeing to hold, was heard in kitchens and living rooms and bedrooms and school classrooms and the floors of quiet hallways where children sat cross-legged in the afternoon light and built things that had never existed before and would never exist again. Small and impermanent and deeply loved. But that is all far away. That is all outside the circle of the lamp. Outside the workshop, outside the rain. Here, in this room, in this hour. The bricks rest in their tray, and the connected pair rests on the bench, and your hands rest on the wood, and your belly rests in its slow breathing, and your lower back rests in its curve, and your hips rest in their heavy, grounded weight, and the mist on the skylight is so fine now that it makes no sound at all, only a faint darkening of the glass, a veil of water so thin that the moonlight passes through it almost unchanged, casting its blue-gray glow across the far wall where the shelves hold their shadows and their silence. You could stay here for a very long time. You could stay here until the rain stops entirely and the clouds part, and the moonlight fills the room with its pale, cool radiance, and even then you would not need to move, because the lamp would still be on, and the bricks would still be sorted, and the bench would still be warm, and the night would still be holding you the way it has been holding you all along. Easily, patiently, without any expectation that you will do anything other than rest. The tin canister at the edge of the bench catches the lamp's light on its curved surface. A warm crescent of amber that moves slightly when you breathe, because your breath moves the bench, and the bench moves the canister, and the canister moves the light. And this chain of tiny causes and tiny effects is the gentlest machinery in the world. A Rube Goldberg device made of nothing but stillness and warmth and the slow, unconscious fact of being alive in a quiet room. Inside the canister, the finished builds rest in their own small darkness. The miniature car, the miniature house, the miniature tree. You have not opened the canister tonight, and you will not open it tonight. It is enough to know that they are there. The way it is enough to know that the shelves hold their boxes, and the boxes hold their bricks, and the bricks hold their colors, and the colors hold their light. Everything holding, everything held, and the story, too, is held by the room, by the bench, by the lamp, by the rain that is no longer quite rain, but something gentler, something closer to silence, something that has almost finished its journey from sky to glass, and now rests on the skylight in a thin, still film, reflecting the faintest suggestion of moonlight back up toward the clouds from which it came. And your breath is part of this holding, and your belly is part of this holding, and your hips and your spine and your hands and the weight of your body and the chair are all part of this holding, this quiet, this deep and unhurried being here that asks nothing of you and gives you everything you need. Lamp hums. The room breathes. And somewhere in the stillness, in the space between one breath and the next, the story begins to drift again, not forward exactly, but inward, deeper, toward the place where the bricks are smallest, and the quiet is greatest, and the night is nothing but a warm, dark room with a single light burning, and a single person resting, and a single thought dissolving, slowly into sleep. Patience and craft. The workshop is quieter now than it has been all night. The rain has finished, not abruptly, not with any announcement, but the way a conversation between old friends finishes, with a last soft word and then a comfortable silence that neither one feels the need to fill. The skylight overhead is dark and still, holding a thin film of water that catches the moonlight and returns it as a faint, diffused glow, so that the ceiling seems to hover in its own pale, watery light, like the underside of a cloud seen from below. The lamp on the bench continues its amber work, its circle of warmth unchanged, and the sorting tray rests before you, and the two connected bricks, red on white, rest beside it, and the ceramic bowl rests in its emptiness. And you rest among all of these things like a word resting in the middle of a very long and very quiet sentence. Your hands move again toward the tray, not because they must, but because they wish to, because the body knows that there is comfort in repetition, in the act of reaching and lifting and holding and placing. And the body asks for this comfort the way it asks for warmth or for sleep, gently, persistently, without language. You pick up a green brick, a 2x2, and you hold it for a moment before setting it on the bench beside the connected pair. Then a blue, then another red. You are not building, not yet, not with intention, but you are gathering. The way a bird gathers materials for a nest, selecting by some instinct too deep to articulate, drawn to this piece and not that one, this color and not another, and the gathering itself is the purpose, and the purpose is the calm. Let your attention drift downward now, past the belly that has already softened, past the hips that have already found their rest, into the larger muscles of your thighs. You may not have thought about your thighs tonight. They are patient, undemanding, the workhorses of the body that carry you through the day without complaint and ask for nothing in return except, perhaps, this, a moment of recognition, a moment of permission to stop carrying. They can stop now. Feel them resting against whatever supports them. Feel the weight of your upper legs sinking into that surface. The broad, heavy muscles releasing their held tension the way a fist releases a handful of sand. Gradually, grain by grain, until the hand is open and empty and the sand is somewhere else entirely, and the letting go is complete. In the years after those first bricks were made and shipped and stacked on shelves in shops across Denmark and then beyond, there were times when the work was not easy. This does not need to be a dramatic admission. Difficulty in the life of a workshop is not dramatic. It is ordinary. It is the quiet kind of difficulty that comes with making things. The mold that does not quite produce the right shape. The material that behaves differently in cold weather than in warm. The batch of bricks that comes out with a surface too rough or a color slightly off. And the need, always the need, to go back and adjust and try again. There were years when the materials were hard to come by. Plastic, in those post-war decades, was still a relatively young material, and the supply of it was subject to the same kinds of gentle disruptions that affect all supply. A shipment delayed. A formula changed. A factory somewhere producing a slightly different grade than the one that was needed. And when these disruptions came, the workers in Billund did what workers in quiet workshops have always done. They waited. They sorted what they had. They organized and reorganized and cleaned the molds and checked the machines and made small improvements to the things they could improve, while the things they could not improve took their own patient time to resolve. The faintest sound of water reaches you from somewhere outside, not rain, but the aftermath of rain, water finding its way through a gutter or along a downspout, a small and distant trickling that is almost musical, almost melodic, a few notes repeated without variation, like a music box that has wound down to its last few turns. It is the sound of the night cleaning up after itself, tidying the rooftops and the windowsills and the streets. And it requires nothing of you except perhaps a moment of listening, a moment of allowing the sound to exist in the same space as the lamp hum and the silence and the slow rhythm of your breathing. You pick up the red on white pair and hold them in your left hand. And with your right hand, you take the green 2x2 and press it gently onto the white brick beside the red. The click is there, soft, definite, the same small sound as before, and you feel it not just in your fingers but in your palm. A tiny vibration that travels through the brick and into your hand like a whispered word. 3 bricks now, a row of 2 on top of 1. The beginning of something, though what it is does not matter, and it is perfectly fine if it never becomes anything more than this. a small, quiet assembly of three colored pieces, held together by nothing but geometry and the gentle friction of surfaces designed to meet. Let your knees soften. They are hinges, the body's own quiet engineering, and they have been locked or semi-locked for most of the day, holding you upright, holding you in chairs, holding you in the postures that daily life requires. But now they can bend or unbend or simply rest in whatever position they have found, and the ligaments and tendons that cross them can ease, and the small pockets of fluid that cushion them can settle, and the whole joint can become what it wants to be when it is not being asked to do anything, which is simply a warm, quiet place where two bones meet and agree to be still. The patience of the Billund workshop was not a philosophy that anyone announced. It was not written on a sign or printed in a manual. It was simply the way the work was done, slowly, carefully, with the understanding that a thing made well takes longer than a thing made fast, and that the difference between the two is felt in the hands of the person who holds the finished piece. Old Kirk had known this from his years as a carpenter, when the sanding of a single surface could take an afternoon, and when the difference between good enough and truly smooth was the difference between a table that someone used and a table that someone loved. He had carved above the entrance to his workshop a phrase that translated roughly as, "Only the best is good enough." And this was not a boast, but a kind of prayer. A quiet commitment to the idea that small things deserve the same attention as large ones. That a child's toy is not less important than a house. That the brick in your hand right now, this small, green, 2x2 rectangle of plastic, deserves to be made as well as it can possibly be made. The moonlight on the far wall has grown slightly clearer as the clouds continue to thin, and the blue-gray wash now illuminates the upper shelves, where boxes of bricks sit in their patient stacks, their edges catching the pale light and holding it in thin, straight lines, like the ruled lines of a notebook that has been opened but not yet written in. The shelves themselves are old wood, darker than the bench, and they hold their weight without complaint, the way old shelves do, the way old things do, when they have been doing their work for so long that the work has become indistinguishable from rest. You press the blue brick onto the assembly. 4 bricks now. The structure has a small solidity to it, a presence, and when you hold it in your palm, it feels like something, not a house, not a car, not anything nameable, but something A small, dense fact of color and shape and connection, something that did not exist 10 minutes ago and now does, brought into being by nothing more than the slow, idle movements of your hands in the amber lamplight. You turn it over. The underside is a lattice of hollow spaces and round tubes, a miniature architecture that you can feel with your thumb, each tube smooth and precise, each wall thin and straight. Let your calves release now. These are the muscles that have been with you all day, quietly, in every step and every stair and every moment of standing. And they hold their tension so deep and so habitually that you may not feel them releasing at first. But give them time. Imagine the tension as a color, a faint gray, perhaps, and imagine it is slowly draining downward, like water through sand, moving from the belly of the muscle toward the ankle and then into the floor. And what is left behind is warmth and softness, and the simple animal pleasure of a muscle that has been allowed to stop working. There were times when the workshop had to redo things. A new plastic was tried, ABS. It would eventually be called acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, though the name is far less important than the feel of it, which was smoother, harder, more stable, more resistant to the slow degradation that heat and light impose on all materials over time. The transition from the old plastic to the new one took years, because the new material behaved differently in the molds, shrank differently, as it cooled, held color differently. And each of these differences needed to be understood and accommodated, one adjustment at a time, one test at a time, one small brick held up to the light and examined and compared and measured against the brick that came before it. The building in which you sit creaks softly. Once, a sound so organic and so familiar that it might be the building's own version of a sigh. The gentle settling of wood and plaster and brick as the temperature drops by another degree and the materials contract by a fraction too small to measure but large enough to produce this one. Quiet, companionable sound. And then the building is silent again, and the lamp hums, and the distant gutter trickles its last few notes, and the night continues its slow, enormous turning. You set the 4-brick assembly on the bench and look at it in the lamplight. Red, green, blue, on white. It sits there with the quiet confidence of a small thing that knows exactly what it is. It does not need to be a building or a bridge or a spaceship. It is 4 bricks, connected, resting on a warm wooden bench, in a pool of amber light. On a night when the rain has stopped and the world has gone still, and there is nothing left to do but breathe and rest and let the hands be idle and the thoughts be slow. The patience that built this company, the patience of the molds and the materials and the hands that sorted and tested and adjusted, is the same patience that lives in this room right now. It is the patience of the lamp which does not flicker, the patience of the bench which does not shift, the patience of the bricks in their tray which do not ask to be built with tonight, which are content to simply rest in their colors, in their compartments, in the quiet order that your hands gave them earlier this evening, when the sorting was the task and the task was the calm. Your thighs are heavy and warm. Your knees are soft. Your calves have released their long-held tension into the floor, into the ground, into the earth, beneath the building that holds this room, that holds this bench, that holds this lamp, that holds this light, that holds you. Everything descending, everything settling, everything finding its lowest, most restful point, the way water finds its level, the way sand finds its angle of repose, the way a brick placed gently on a surface finds its seat and stays. The moonlight and the lamplight share the room now in quiet agreement, the amber in the center, the blue-gray at the edges, and between them a zone of gentle shadow where the two lights blend into something unnamed, something neither warm nor cool, but simply present. A twilight within a room, within a night, within a season, within a life that is, at this moment, asking for nothing more than this: breath, stillness. The company of small, colored objects resting in the light. And the story continues to drift as it has been drifting, not toward any destination, but simply along, the way smoke drifts from a candle that has just been extinguished, curling and turning and dissolving into the air that holds it, becoming less and less distinct, becoming part of the room, part of the silence, part of the long and gentle exhalation that the night has been making since the rain began. And that continues now, even though the rain has stopped, even though the mist has cleared, even though the only sound left is the hum of the lamp, and the last faint trickle of water finding its way, somewhere outside, to the ground. Everyday creation. The workshop has reached the kind of quiet that comes only late at night, when everything that was going to make a sound has already made it, and everything that remains has chosen silence. The rain is gone. The mist is gone. The skylight overhead is dark and dry and holds, if you look carefully, the faintest reflection of the lamp below, a small amber ghost floating on the glass like a lantern seen from the bottom of a very still pond. Beyond the glass, the sky has opened, and though you cannot see the stars from where you sit, you can sense them in the quality of the darkness, which is no longer the heavy, blanketed darkness of cloud cover, but something thinner, lighter, faintly luminous, as though the night itself has been washed clean by the hours of rain, and now rests in its own quiet clarity. The moonlight through the high windows is stronger. It falls in soft, pale rectangles across the workshop floor, illuminating the worn boards and the thin seams between them, and the faint dust that lies in the grain like snow in the furrows of a winter field. The lamp still holds its amber circle on the bench, and the sorting tray still rests within that circle, and the small 4-brick assembly, red, green, blue on white, still sits where you left it, patient, complete in its incompleteness, asking for nothing. Your hands move toward the tray again. They know the way. They have been making this journey all evening, from the bench to the tray, from the tray to the lamp, from the lamp to the bench, and the path is worn smooth in the muscles of your arms and wrists, the way a path through a garden is worn smooth by the feet that walk it daily. The grass pressed down, the soil compacted, the route becoming easier and more natural with each repetition, until it is not a choice at all, but a drift, a tendency, a thing the body does because the body remembers. You lift a brick from the blue compartment, a 1x4, long and narrow, and you hold it lengthwise between your thumb and forefinger, feeling its weight distribute along its axis like a tiny beam, a miniature piece of architecture that could span a gap no wider than 2 fingertips. You press it onto the top of the assembly, across the red and the green, and it connects with 2 soft clicks, one from each stud finding its partner. And the clicks are so close together that they are almost one sound, almost a single syllable spoken by the bricks themselves, a word in that language of touch and fit and gentle pressure that has no alphabet and needs none. Let your attention continue its slow descent through the body, past the thighs that have already released their weight, past the knees that have already softened, and into the calves. You visited them before, in the last passage of this night, and they began their letting go, and now they can continue. The calves are patient muscles. They are the muscles of standing and walking and climbing, the muscles that absorb the small shocks of daily movement, and they hold their tension deep in layers, the way the earth holds its heat in layers, the topsoil cooling first and the deeper ground staying warm long into the night. Let the deeper layers release now. Let the warmth that is trapped there rise to the surface and dissipate like steam from a cup of tea that has been sitting undisturbed for a long time. And what remains is softness, is stillness, is the quiet weight of muscle resting on bone resting, on whatever holds you. The workshop in its mature years, and we are there now, somewhere in the middle decades, the years when the brick had found its final form and the molds were precise and the colors were true and the clutch power was exactly right. The workshop in those years would have had a rhythm to it. Not the rhythm of urgency, not the beat of a factory floor in a film about industry, but something gentler, something closer to the rhythm of this room on this night. The rhythm of hands reaching into bins, the rhythm of bricks being sorted, counted, checked, the rhythm of small fingers pressing pieces together to test the fit, and the click, always the click, that tiny affirmation that repeated itself 1,000 times a day, 10,000 times, 100,000 times, across tables and workbenches and quality control stations, in a building in a small town in the flat middle of Denmark, where the wind still moved through the grass the same way it had when Ole Kirk first set up his carpenter's bench decades before. The building creaks softly. It is a sound you have come to know over these last hours, a companionable sound, the voice of a structure that is alive in the way all buildings are alive, expanding and contracting with the temperature, settling into its foundations, adjusting to the weight of its own walls and roof, and the air that fills its rooms. The creak is brief, a single note, and then the silence returns, fuller than before, as though the sound has added something to it, a depth, a richness, the way a single drop of color added to a glass of water changes not just the color, but the quality of the stillness. You reach for another brick, a small one this time, a 1x1, a perfect cube, and it is white, and it sits on the tip of your finger like a tiny die, like a single pixel of something larger, like the smallest possible unit of building. You place it on the corner of the assembly, and it clicks into place with a sound so faint it is more a vibration than a noise, felt in the fingerprint, in the whorled skin of your index finger, the way a blind person feels the raised dots of a page and reads meaning from pressure alone. There is a particular quality to the act of building with bricks that is different from almost every other kind of making. It is not like painting, where the medium is fluid and the possibilities are infinite, and the hand must make decisions that cannot be undone. It is not like carving, where the material is reduced, where every cut removes something that cannot be returned. Building with bricks is additive and reversible. Every piece placed can be removed. Every structure assembled can be disassembled. Every decision is provisional, gentle, without consequence. And this freedom, this quiet, unhurried freedom is part of what makes the act so restful, so close to the rhythm of falling asleep, where thoughts are assembled and disassembled without effort or attachment, where one image connects to another and then separates, drifting apart like clouds, like bricks lifted from their studs and returned to the tray. Let your ankles ease now. These small, complex joints where the leg becomes the foot, where the vertical becomes the horizontal, where the architecture of standing meets the architecture of the ground. They hold so much, the entire weight of you, balanced on their small and intricate arrangement of bones and tendons, and they do it so quietly, so without complaint, that you may never have thought to thank them. You do not need to thank them now, either. You only need to let them rest, to feel the small bones settle into their most comfortable alignment, the tendons slacken by a degree, the joint itself becoming loose and warm and present in a way it has not been all day. In those steady middle years, the people who worked with the bricks developed routines so ingrained that the work became a kind of meditation. A woman at a sorting table might spend her entire shift separating red bricks from blue bricks, from yellow bricks, her hands moving in patterns so practiced that her eyes could rest on the middle distance and her thoughts could wander freely through whatever landscape her mind preferred. A garden, perhaps, or a memory of summer, or the face of someone she loved, or simply the pleasant blankness that comes when the body is occupied and the mind is not. The bricks would pass through her fingers at a rate that never varied, never hurried. Click and place, and click and place, and the trays would fill and be replaced with empty trays, and the full trays would be carried to the packing tables, where other hands would continue the work, and the rhythm would carry forward, unbroken, like a song sung in rounds, each voice entering at its appointed time and sustaining the melody while the others breathed. The lamp hums. The moon has moved imperceptibly, casting its pale rectangles at a slightly different angle across the floor, and the shadows in the room have shifted with them, rotating slowly like the hands of a clock too large to comprehend. The tin canister at the edge of the bench catches both lights now, the amber from the lamp and the blue-gray from the moon, and its surface holds them in two curved strips of color. Side by side, warm and cool, like the two halves of a day compressed into a single object. You press another brick onto the assembly. You are not counting the bricks, and you are not planning the structure. You are simply placing one after another, guided by nothing but the feel of the stud beneath your fingertip and the small, confirming click that tells you the connection is made. The assembly is growing, becoming something, a wall, perhaps, or a step, or a fragment of an idea that will never need to be finished, because the building is the purpose, the clicking is the purpose, the repetition is the purpose, each brick a small breath of attention placed upon the last. Let your feet rest now. The soles of your feet, which have carried you across every surface of this day, tile, concrete, carpet, grass, the small threshold between outside and in, can finally stop feeling the ground and simply be. Feel them from the inside. Feel the arch of each foot, that elegant suspension, bridge of bone and ligament, and let it soften. Feel the toes, each one separate, each one resting. The small muscles between them releasing their last tiny grip. Feel the heels, those sturdy foundations, heavy and warm and connected to the floor or the footrest or whatever holds them, and let them sink, not far, a millimeter, the distance a sigh travels, the distance a brick settles when you place it on a table and take your hand away. The ordinary workshop on an ordinary night would have grown quiet in just this way. The last shift would have ended. The sorting tables would be clear, the bins restocked, the machines at rest. Someone might have walked through the rooms one final time, turning off lights, checking doors, and the building would have settled into its own nighttime rhythm, the hum of a ventilation system, the tick of cooling metal, the vast and patient silence of a space that is full of small, colorful things and empty of people. The bricks on their shelves would have waited in the dark with the infinite patience of objects, neither anxious nor eager, simply present, simply there, each one holding its color inside itself like a seed holding a flower, ready for the hands that would find it in the morning. You set the assembly down. It is taller now, perhaps 8 or 9 bricks, a small tower of muted colors that leans very slightly to one side, not because the connections are loose, but because you place them that way, without reference to plumb or level, guided only by the slow, drowsy logic of a mind that is no longer interested in straightness, but in the pleasure of placing and clicking and feeling the small satisfaction of things holding together. The workshop is very still. The deep quiet has settled into every corner, every shelf, every space between objects, and it is the kind of quiet that does not wait to be broken, but exists for its own sake, complete, sufficient, the acoustic equivalent of the color white. Not an absence of sound, but a fullness, a totality in which every possible sound is contained, and none of them are expressed. The lamp hums within this quiet, the way a heartbeat exists within a sleeping body, not breaking the silence, but belonging to it, being part of its texture, part of its weave. Your calves are warm and heavy. Your ankles are loose. Your feet rest on the ground with the trusting weight of things that have been set down for the final time, and the ground holds them. And you can feel this holding travel upward through the bones of your legs and into your hips and through your spine and into your chest, where the breath continues its slow tidal work, in and out, in and out, the most patient rhythm, the rhythm that was there before you were born and will be there after you fall asleep and will carry you through the night like a boat on a river that moves so slowly it might not be moving at all. The 4-brick assembly has become a 9-brick assembly, and it rests on the bench in the amber light and the moonlight and the quiet, and it is, in its own small way, a record of this hour. Each brick a moment, each click a breath, each color a shade of the long, slow thought that has been moving through this room since you sat down. It does not mean anything. It does not need to. It is simply a thing you have made with your hands in the quiet, and it will sit here on the bench until someone moves it. And the bench will be here until the building is not. And the building will be here for a long time, yet creaking softly in the cool night air, holding its rooms and its shelves and its lamp and its bricks, and for tonight, holding you. The moonlight shifts, the lamp glows, and the night, which has been turning so slowly that you have forgotten it is turning at all, carries you further, gently, silently, into the next quiet passage, the next still room, the next breath that is already waiting for you, as patient and as warm as everything else in this small and gentle world. The quiet table and deep sleep. The workshop is here. You are here. And the distance between those two facts has been closing all night, narrowing like the space between two bricks being pressed together, until now, in this last quiet hour, there is almost no distance at all. The room is you, and you are the room. The bench beneath your arms, the lamp above your hands, the tray of sorted bricks resting in the amber light, the moonlight falling in soft silver rectangles across the floor, the skylight dark and dry, and holding a few faint stars that you can see if you let your gaze drift upward, which you do now, slowly, the way your eyes might drift upward just before sleep, following nothing, arriving nowhere, simply rising, and then resting on the glass and the darkness and the small, pale points of light that exist at distances too large for the mind to hold. And so the mind does not try. It simply looks. It simply rests. It lets the stars be stars, and the glass be glass, and the night be the long, soft, unhurried thing it has always been. The lamp has dimmed, not because anyone has turned it down, but in the way that all lamps seem to dim in the deepest hours, as though the light itself has grown drowsy, as though photons can feel fatigue, as though the filament inside the glass has been glowing for so long that it has begun to dream of darkness. The amber circle on the bench is smaller now, more concentrated, a warm island, and a room that has filled with the cooler, wider light of the moon. The two lights share the space, the way two sleepers share a bed, close, overlapping, each one accommodating the other without negotiation, without effort, simply by being what they are. The sorting tray rests in the lamplight. The small assembly of 9 bricks rests beside it. The ceramic bowl rests in its emptiness. The tin canister rests at the edge of the bench, and you rest among them, your body held by the chair and the bench and the warm, still air, and the night rests around you. And for a moment, for this moment, nothing in the world is moving except your breath. And even that has slowed to something barely perceptible. A rise so gentle it might be imagined. A fall so soft it might be the room itself exhaling. Let us begin at the top of you, the crown of your head, the very highest point, the place where you are closest to the ceiling and the skylight and the stars. Feel it now, not with your hands, but from inside, where you might feel warmth spreading through water. A subtle awareness that begins at the top of the skull and rests there, light as a palm placed gently on your hair. There is nothing to do with this awareness. There is nowhere to send it. It is simply there, a point of soft attention, and it can stay for a moment or it can drift, and it will drift because everything tonight is drifting, and the drifting is the way. Your forehead smooths. The skin across your brow, which has carried the day's expressions, concentration, concern, surprise, the thousand small contractions that accompany thought, becomes still, becomes neutral, becomes a surface, as calm and as unmarked as the surface of the white brick you held earlier this evening, when the lamplight made it glow like a small piece of moon. Your temples ease. Muscles there are so thin, so delicate, that their releasing is less a sensation than a subtraction. The removal of something you did not know was present. The way the removal of a sound you have been hearing for hours creates a silence so complete it feels like a new kind of listening. Your eyes, behind their closed lids, are still. They have stopped their searching, their tracking, their restless scanning of the world for information and meaning, and the next thing to attend to. They rest now in their sockets like two small stones resting in two small depressions in the sand, perfectly cradled, perfectly held. And the darkness behind your lids is not the darkness of absence, but the darkness of presence, the warm interior darkness that belongs only to you, that has been with you since before you were born, and will be with you always. A private night within the larger night, your own small sky without stars. Your jaw has been soft for a long time now. Let it soften further. Let it soften past the point you thought was the end of softening, into a place where the muscles are not just relaxed but forgotten, where the jaw hangs from the skull by its own gentle weight, and the teeth are parted, and the tongue rests on the floor of the mouth like a sleeping animal curled in its den, warm and heavy and breathing its own slow breath. The hinge of the jaw, that small joint just below the ear, releases its last whisper of tension, and the release travels outward along the bone and into the cheek and the chin and the lips, and the whole lower face becomes a landscape of stillness, soft and undulating and warm. The lamp hums, or perhaps it has stopped humming, and what you are hearing is the memory of the hum, the echo of a sound that has been with you so long. It has become part of your own internal quiet, indistinguishable from the sound of your own blood moving through the vessels near your ears. That soft, rhythmic rush that is the body's lullaby to itself. The song it sings without ceasing, without audience, without any need for applause. Your neck releases the muscles that have been holding your head upright, those faithful, tireless columns of tissue that support the most complex structure in your body without ever once asking to be noticed. They let go now, and the head settles, and the weight of it, which is more than you might think, transfers gently downward into whatever supports it, and the transfer is complete, and the neck is simply a passage. Now, a corridor between the head and the body, warm and open and carrying nothing but breath and blood and the last fading currents of wakefulness. Your shoulders, they descended hours ago when the sorting first began, when your hands first reached into the ceramic bowl and found the bricks waiting there like small colored promises. And they have been descending ever since, by degrees too small to measure, settling and settling and settling the way sediment settles in still water, drifting downward through the hours. And now they are as low as they can go, resting against the body like two wings folded by a bird that has finished its flight and landed on a branch and tucked its head beneath its feathers and closed its eyes. Your arms are heavy. They lie on the bench or in your lap or at your sides, and they are heavy the way sand is heavy, the way water is heavy, the way the earth itself is heavy, not with effort, but with substance, with the simple physical fact of being. the muscles of the upper arms, the biceps and triceps that have lifted and carried and held throughout the day, are quiet now, their fibers at rest, their chemistry slowing, their small electrical impulses dimming to the faintest flicker, like the lamp, like the stars, like everything tonight that has been burning for a long time and is now gently beginning to rest. Your hands. These remarkable, sensitive, endlessly capable hands that sorted the bricks and felt the studs and pressed the pieces together and heard the click through the nerves of the fingertips. They are still now. They are the stillest they have been all day, all week perhaps, resting in the shape that hands take when they have finally put everything down, slightly curled, slightly open, the fingers loose, the palms soft, the whole hand a gentle cup holding nothing but warm air, and the last traces of the day's touch, the ghost of every surface they pressed against, every object they held, every brick they turned in the lamplight. And these ghosts are fading now, dissolving into the warmth, becoming part of the quiet. The bricks in the sorting tray have been still for a long time. They rest in their compartments like children in their beds, each one in its place. Each one the same size as its neighbors. Each one holding its color quietly inside itself. The reds dream of red. The blues dream of blue. The yellows hold their small interior sunlight, and the greens hold their memory of moss and leaves, and the slow, patient growth of things that grow without knowing they are growing. And the white bricks hold nothing and everything, the whole spectrum folded into a single, clean absence of color, the way silence holds every possible sound. Your chest rises and falls. The breath is so slow now that each cycle feels like a small season. The inhale, a spring, gradual and expansive. The pause at the top, a long, warm summer afternoon. The exhale in autumn, a gentle letting go of everything that was gathered. And then the pause at the bottom, the quiet winter, the stillness before the next breath arrives, unhurried, unforced, following a rhythm older than thought, older than language, older than the workshop and the bricks and the lamp and the moonlight. Your belly is soft. It has been soft for a long time, and now it is softer still. A warm, round, breathing place at the center of you that rises and falls with each breath, like the surface of a lake touched by the gentlest possible wind. A wind so slight that the ripples it makes are barely visible, barely there. Just the smallest disturbance in the otherwise perfect stillness of the water. Your lower back holds its curve. Your hips hold their weight. These are the deep, grounded places of the body, the places closest to the earth, the places where the body is most itself, most animal, most solid, most present in the physical world. And they are at rest now in the way that stones are at rest, that hillsides are at rest, that the foundations of buildings are at rest, bearing their weight without awareness, without effort, without any sense that what they are doing is remarkable. Because it is not remarkable. It is simply what they do. It is simply what you are. The 9-brick assembly on the bench has become part of the stillness. It is not a thing you made. It is a thing that happened while you were resting, while your hands moved in the lamplight, and the rain fell and stopped, and the night deepened, and the air cooled, and the stars appeared behind the skylight glass. It sits on the bench with the same quiet permanence as the tray, and the bowl, and the canister, and the bench itself. And in the morning, someone may find it and wonder what it was meant to be. And the answer will be nothing. It was meant to be nothing. It was meant to be the record of a slow and quiet hour in which nothing happened and everything rested, and the only sound was the click of small things coming together and holding. Your thighs are heavy, warm, resting. Your knees are soft, unlocked, forgotten. Your calves have released the last of their held tension into the ground, and the ground has accepted it the way the ground accepts everything. Rain, leaves, footsteps, shadows, without judgment, without memory. Simply by being the ground. Your ankles are loose. Your feet are warm and still. The soles of your feet, those sensitive, map-like surfaces that have felt every texture of the day, are at rest now on whatever holds them, and they hold nothing in return. The arches have softened. The toes have uncurled. The small bones and the smaller muscles and the smallest tendons have all found their positions of greatest ease. They rest there now, the way the bricks rest in the tray, each one in its place, each one touching its neighbor, each one still. The lamp hums at the very edge of hearing, and then perhaps it does not hum at all. And the difference between humming and not humming is no longer a difference you can detect, because the quiet has become so deep and so total that all sounds have dissolved into it. The way all colors dissolve into white, the way all rivers dissolve into the sea. And what remains is not silence, but something larger than silence, a vast, warm, breathing stillness that holds the room and the bench and the bricks and the lamp and the moonlight and the stars and you. The moonlight has filled the room. It lies across the floor in broad, pale sheets, and it climbs the walls and touches the shelves and rests on the tops of the stacked boxes, where bricks wait in their patient thousands for hands that will find them in the daylight. But the daylight is very far away. The daylight is on the other side of a long, deep, restful darkness that has no edges and no boundaries, that stretches in every direction like a field of new snow, untouched, untracked, holding nothing but its own soft, white, infinite quiet. The bricks in the tray are sleeping. The bricks on the shelves are sleeping. The 9-brick assembly on the bench is sleeping. The ceramic bowl is sleeping in its emptiness. The tin canister is sleeping with its small, finished worlds held safe inside. The bench is sleeping. The lamp is sleeping with its last thin thread of amber light still glowing, barely, like the last ember in a fire that has been banking itself all evening, not going out, not quite, just dimming, becoming smaller and softer and warmer and closer to the color of the darkness around it. You are here. You are held. The night is gentle and the room is warm. The bricks rest in their colors. The stars rest in their distances. The breath moves through you the way it has always moved through you. In and out, in and out. The simplest rhythm, the oldest rhythm, the rhythm that needs nothing from you, not your attention, not your effort, not your wakefulness, the rhythm that will carry you now, as it has always carried you, into the deep, still place where there are no bricks and no workshops, no lamps and no stories, only the vast and tender dark, only the warmth, only the quiet, only the slow and measureless drift of a mind that has set down everything it was holding and is now, at last, at rest. The lamp dims. The bench holds. The bricks are still. The quiet remains. The quiet remains. Good night.